Friday. How is everybody doing? My name is Renita, and I am. Why do I never remember what I am? But I am the creator of Be Your Own Kind brand, where I promote you being yourself. It is no other person to be but yourself. All right, it is time. Hey, Kristen, how are you doing? How was your week? This seemed like a really long week, but then again, I feel like I say that all the time. I always try to share my life, but then I can never find it to share it on my page. So I'm trying to figure that out right quick. Oh, right now I'm talking on there. Anyway, how was your week? So this week I decided to make some steps to make myself more hydrated. Apparently that's good for skin and blah blah blah. So I bought this right here, which I thought was kind of neat. I think it's a half a gallon. It's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So 12 hours you're supposed to drink this. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, now you can see it. So I'm actually at 8 p.m. and it's 8 p.m. my time. So I just got to chug that before I go to sleep. So that's actually helping me to drink more water because I just don't drink water. Yeah, this week has been pretty long. But we made it through. It's Friday. We have a weekend and we could just chill, and let me just put some banners on here. Sharing is caring. If you're watching this, please share. It costs nothing, not even time, maybe a second of your time. So just please share the video, get the word out about Be Your Own Kind. So another thing I bought, thanks to Instagram, when you scrolling down Instagram and you see all those ads, and you don't need any of this stuff. You wasn't thinking about any of this stuff. So but you hit the buy button. Okay, I hit the buy button. Let me not put this on anybody else. So I got this. This light is really taken away from what I'm trying to say. So I got this. This is like a sweat shaper, and it's a 2X. It said get the size that you normally wear in shirts. So I wear a 2X. So let me show you this elasticity. There's no zipper, no zipper on this. No zipper. This is for a 2X stomach. So I just erased all common sense. I tried to put this thing on, stretched it out. I got stuck in it. I got super stuck in this. And it was a terrifying experience. Hopefully I lost some ounces trying to put this over my stomach, but this was crazy. Look how little this is for a 2X. So I tried to stretch it like it was stockings, and then it just got stuck on my shoulders. So I'm doing all like this. Oh my God. It was a crazy experience. So I ordered a bigger size to see if it worked, like a 4X. I just got the largest they had to see if it worked, but this is not true to size. So if the 4X don't work, you're going to see a nice little review on my page about it. I'm just trying to sweat my stomach out. I mean, we in the house, so I'm like, when the world opened back up, I can, have a nice little tummy there. Just wouldn't let me be great. Hey, Mom, how are you doing? How was your week? Yes, it looks like an infinity scarf. That's exactly what it looked like. And I still tried to put it over my shoulders. I'm like, yes. And so how did I get out of it? I told my sister I prayed to get up out that thing. First time watching, saw your IG. Oh, thank you. Thanks for coming. I'm doing great. How are you doing, Jay? Thank you for welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Send that one. Yeah, I sent it back. So hopefully I get the bigger size. I chose the biggest size that they had. Oh my God. It was a terrible experience. So today we're going to be talking about financial literacy, or the lack thereof, in welcome to BYOK. You get a nice little welcome here. Thanks for coming. Thanks for stopping by. So today we're going to be talking about the lack of financial literacy in the minority community. It's not just Blacks, it's all minorities. An article we're going to go over, maybe, because we do have a guest coming today to talk about it, because this was her idea. She picked this topic, so she chose to come on to speak more about it. But it's more prevalent in the Hispanic and Black community. I feel like now with the internet, we do have more access to the information, but it's just driving people to that information and changing their mindset. So I did find a nice little it's not a slideshow, but it was on an Instagram page, like one of those financial Instagram pages that kind of shows why people are having hard times with their finances because of the old mindset. But before we get into that, oh, I think we have a comment here. My week was challenging, but it's Friday. Yes, it's Friday. It is Friday where you could just let your hair down and just chill. You don't have to think about work for 3 days, 2 nights. So last week, one of my friends did pose a question, and I just want to get you guys' opinion because I never got a what would you do question. Jay said, I saw the clip about the topics this week, had to tune in. Yes, I'm super excited. Yeah, I'm curious as to what she's going to say because I'm still learning about financial literacy, and I know I'm jumping the gun because we're supposed to be talking about the what would you do. But just this week, I switched my retirement to a Roth because it's not taxed at all. So it's just accumulating until I retire. So little things like that I'm learning. And I've been speaking with the financial advisor. She said that she may pop through if she's not in a meeting. So it'd be good for her to just join us and just share her knowledge with us. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope she does make it. And so, yeah. So the first thing I wanted to bring up was this question that was posed last week by my friend Jermaine. So he says a man has kids with 2 different women. So the first baby mother, she drops off her daughter with money to get her hair done. So the father takes the kid pretty much to the shop and splits that money between that daughter and the other kids. Does the first baby's mother, should she be mad? Should she be mad about that? That was the question. Should she be mad about that? So I thought about this all week because I'm thinking of ethics, right? So you don't want to take one kid to get their hair done and then the other kid's looking kind of crazy and then they're feeling a certain kind of way about it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, do you do that to the kids? Here's the thing. Dad knew he was taking them to the shop. He knew beforehand because I'm pretty sure if the mom sent him with money, then this was a plan. So if you're going to have all your kids, you can't have one getting their hair done and another not getting their hair done. So what he should have done was just took the money that the mom gave and spent it on the daughter, and then he covered the rest of the kids. Because if he split it, the daughter might have not been able to get the hairstyle that she wanted, and those funds was for her. So I feel like that was the diplomatic answer for that. What do you guys think? Do you think that he was right for splitting the money on the other kids? Or, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? So that was my thought. I feel she can be mad because she sent money just for her kid, not the other kid. But I think the dad was thinking, well, hey, it's enough to get both of their hair done, so why not? But you don't do that. That's for that one kid. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I guess it's only bogus if he just, like I said, you can't do something for one kid and not the other, and they're all together. So maybe it was a leftover, and he was like, okay, well, forget about it. I'm just gonna, what you just said. So I agree. Okay, right. So I just feel like he should have gave her the surplus back because I feel like the mom would be mad, like I didn't give you this money for this. So that was my answers on it. We had another comment. He was not right. The dad should have taken his own money for the other child. That's how I feel. I feel it's ethical to get all the kids' hair done, but it's also ethical to allocate those funds for what you received them for. So I thought that was a really fun question. So thanks to Jermaine for providing this question because I surely was thinking about it. He has to pay the difference for the other kids. Yeah, it should come out of his pocket because it's his kids. Exactly. He shouldn't have done that. And if he was going to do it, he could have either called her or said, hey, can I use the rest for the other kid? Or he could have just paid for the other kid to get her hair done himself. Yeah. And here's Jermaine laughing while we're trying to figure this out. Thanks, Jermaine, for this wonderful scenario. Jermaine is responsible for this conversation because I was thinking the whole week. I'm like, I mean, you don't do that, but then you don't leave the other kids out. So I was just, I don't know, I was juggling with that. So that's what I came up with. So thank you, Jermaine. If you have any more scenarios, I would love to include them on the show because it really, really had us thinking. So I have Celia that's holding on. This was her idea. Wait, I agree. I think it's not the woman's responsibility. It's not to do the other kids' hair. It's just not. You don't know what she had to do for that money, 9 to 5, what she had to save and put up for it. So it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So this was a good scenario. Let me chime in Celia because she's just sitting there. Look at her looking all cute. Hey Celia. I think you're muted. Oh, I muted you. Wait, let me unmute you. Oops, I muted you again. Hey, Celia.
Hi, Renita. How are you?
I'm doing good. Looking all cute in your red.
I just came from work, so.
You just came from work. Okay. Do you see the scenario? What do you think?
I mean, it all depends. Because, like, in my situation, I have, half sisters, which I don't consider half, but I have half siblings. And for me, the way like my mom was like, if she knows that we're going somewhere and my other siblings are there, then she would try to include them so they don't feel excluded. So it just all depends on the situation. Also, it's like that's where some male and female have to understand that if you're going to get involved with women and have different children with different women, you know some of those scenarios are going to have to happen because it's like, do you want, yeah, it's your kid, but at the same time, say if that's the kid you knew that was from the previous person, then it's like, you already know that they have a child. So if he's going to take her to the hair salon, then the other kid's going to go too. So it's just all
Yeah.
depends. In my
Yeah.
scenario, like I just feel like it just all depends on the whole situation. But I mean, him not saying nothing would be a whole that's the problem I have. It's like you should just
Yeah.
ask
Just taking
and
it
said
upon
something.
yourself. Like,
Because if you would have asked, they'd probably be like, you know what, that's fine, go ahead. Because
right.
for instance, the other mom's probably in the same predicament, and she's probably like, okay, well, there's leftover. I probably know that she's struggling too, so go ahead. So it just all depends.
Okay. Well, thank you for your feedback on that, Miss Lady. My mother said hello. I don't know if you saw. Can you see the comments? If
Yes.
not, I can read them to you. Okay.
Hello.
So you brought up this topic. Of course, I have my little slideshow that I found online. But did you want to start off, or you want to start with that,
Oh,
or you want to?
we can start off with what you have, and we could just elaborate off
Okay.
of that.
Cool. So let me share the screen. This is always the fun part because I think I'll be on one screen and I'll be on another. There we go. Woohoo! So I found this on Instagram. It is from I am Allison Bird on Instagram, and she has I like her color schemes. This is off subject, but it's always like black, gold, and white. Like if you look through her whole thing. But anyway, she talks about she offers like information about financial information. So I love this because it was like, why aren't you rich? 5 mental blocks sabotaging your instant money manifestations. And I think that is part of the problem, like your mindset, like you're set in those old ways, or you're set in your what your parents taught you, or what you just figured out in survival mode. And we say we want, financial wealth, financial gain, but we're still thinking in those old habits, and this is why we can't get over those humps. So the first one was, nope, that's not it. The first one was scarcity mindset. If you grew up believing that abundance was something that happened to other people, you might not think you're good enough to get rich. What do you think about that, Celia?
That's true. Cause I'm serious. Cause like from where I come from, it had it to where like making it. How they say like everyone's definition of making it or being successful is different. So where I came from, I didn't come from much. And then like, going to high school and stuff and then coming out and then like me and my husband, getting married, then buying a house. I'm like, okay, I made it. Just because I felt like I bought a house is something that my mom didn't have and half of my family didn't have.
Right.
They, so it's like, oh, I made it. And then it's like after a while, my husband's like, no, you didn't make it. This is just a step. So
Right.
it was like I had to think like, okay, so yeah, it is a mindset and it is trying to get to that elaboration of what do you feel is stability. I didn't know nothing really about 401ks and things like that until, later. Like I heard of them, but I didn't. I was like, oh, whatever. It is what it is. So it's
Right.
just it is you know it is in regards to a mindset of you having to just step back and be like, okay, where am I going? Where do I want to go? And what's financial success to me, or where do I want to be, and go from there.
That's true because if you that's another thing of it, another aspect of educating yourself because you're just gonna stay on that hamster wheel of what you're used to. So you'll stay in that mindset. If you're constantly living paycheck to paycheck, then you do think that you don't deserve wealth. You do feel like this is it. This is life. I'm paycheck for paycheck forever, because you're not educating yourself or thinking outside the box, or you just don't know where to start. That was my thing. I just don't know where to start. So, yeah, so I totally agree with what you're saying. And Kristen says she asks herself every morning, I wake up for work, why am I not rich yet? And rich and wealth are two different things. I feel like wealth carries on to the next generation, the next generation, the next generation, and that's what we're talking about. Because rich pretty much only settles you while you're here. But if I invest and if I set up the proper channels when I pass away, that money can go on forever. Like families like the Hiltons, and I can't think of it. Well, Trump. There's only two people that I could think of. It's generational wealth. He's never had to work a day in his life because of something his great grandfather, accomplished. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we need in the
Right,
community is generational
right,
wealth. Like when
right,
our kids are born, it's just the same cycle of them trying to fight to the top because there we have our parents, weren't taught, to put up an account and things of that sort. So
right.
that's why
And then
I'm going for
also,
wealth. Oops, it's
right,
covering you up.
and then also, the other thing is like, what my husband says on a regular basis is that it's basically you leaving a legacy for your
Right,
family.
there we go.
It's a financial legacy of, you're leaving a legacy, of course, of your name and your family, but it's also a financial legacy to where there's opportunities for your family to fit in where it needs to fit in when it comes to whatever is set stone or whatever is established.
Yeah, I agree with that. My mom says sorry, it's covering you up. Prosperity
Oh,
is
it's
a state
fine.
of mind. Prosperity is a state of mind. Generally, we are raised to go to school, get a good education, and a good job. We are not taught entrepreneurship and investing, which puts us brown and black folks already behind other ethnicities. And I agree with that. I totally agree with that.
That is true because
Um,
if you were, did you ever hear like when you were younger, like when I was younger, it was always like, oh, okay, well, if you don't go to college, you should get a city or a city job or a county job. Like try to get one of those jobs because you have good benefits and a good pension. Like that was like the go-to jobs that you hear like your family saying, or like to in order for you to if you're not gonna go to school and become like a doctor or something successful, then you need to find a way to get a city job.
that's true.
So it's like
The
if you
school or trade, school or
right,
trade.
right, or
It's never work for yourself.
right, it was always a school or trade or get a city or county job or somewhere where you work for the state, something that is funded by some type of government so that you could be, you'll have your pension and your 401k and benefits. And then when you got those jobs, and it was just like, okay, we'll just work that until I can retire, do my 20 and get out.
Yeah. But then you find yourself working forever though in those type
Right.
of jobs. You don't retire to what is retirement age like 70 something now? Like
No,
does it
it's
get
60, I think. Well, you could retire, at any age, just that when you depending on when you can pull from your pension or your 401k, depending on, what you have. And I believe it's like 66 if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
65, 66, where you could pull from your pension or your 401k. I mean, you could always pull from it. It's just the fact that you'll get taxed and penalized.
Right, but some people that's at retirement age, they don't have enough to live, you know, because the thing is life expectancy is also increasing. So if you don't really calculate how much you can live off, I guess, what is that, the next 20 years of your life after you retire, then you find yourself still working in your 70s and your 80s just to make ends meet because you didn't know the proper way to retire. You
I
know, you
mean,
didn't know how
right.
much money to put up. So
Right, and the
that's
other thing too
another
is that
world.
a lot of people like my mom and people before us didn't even
Mhm.
think about the fact that not only, yeah, let me put up my money for, in my pension or my 401k, but no one's also thinking, like I read recently, that you should put up an additional percentage because everyone forgets that every year the cost of living goes up. So by the
Right.
time you retire, the cost of living is going to be probably double or triple than what it was when you first started retiring. Or first starting to save up for your 401k or pension or whatever you're putting in.
Right. Right. And Jermaine is saying, Amen, Kristen, so want to be rich. And Kristen say exactly, I want wealth. I want to make new money in my generation so my children can have old money in their generation. Yes. Yes, that's the idea. Mom says now I'm in the investment entrepreneurship mode for generational for my daughters and grandchildren. Right. People, especially with COVID, everybody's working for themselves now because we got time. We got the time for it, you know. And Jay Jackson said, I'm sick of working just to get old and die. Yes. It's almost like you do your 9 to 5, you look up, you're retired. Now what? And if you don't have enough, like we just said, to live off your retirement, then it's like, okay, basically you do work until you die. You know,
I
so
mean,
if you don't have that education.
right. And the other thing too is that a lot of people forget that you get stuck in the whole concept of medical insurance. That takes up a lot of people's
Oh,
pension
yes.
because a lot of people, they'll say, "Oh, well, what do you get a month from your pension or your 401k? Like, what do you get a month?" And then you'll tell them, and then they'll say, "Okay, well, you make too much money, so you're gonna have to pay $1,200 a month for your insurance. That doesn't include your medicines and things of that sort and stuff like that." So and then some people will go and apply for like Medicare and Medicaid, and they can't get it because they make too much money. And then if you get Social Security or disability, you when you receive it, then you if you do work a job, you can't go over a certain amount, or you get kicked off your Social Security or disability, and you don't get the benefits for that. So it's just like a consistent wheel of you trying to get over on the system, not trying to, but that's the only way you can survive, is trying to get over, like, okay, let me put this over here. Not, I can't work over these hours to make extra money, or I'm gonna lose my medical benefits. So it's just like you get stuck in this system.
Right. Do you have any suggestions for getting unstuck? Some suggestions of a different mindset or way?
Um, just educate yourself because things change all the time. Like before, the stock market, you could only buy through, actual stocks, like the actual stock market, things like that. Now there's different types of things you could do now. You got Robinhood, which is an app that you could purchase stocks, and you don't have to, they're not all high. You could buy stocks for $10, a dollar, I mean like 10, $5, different types of things like that. And then you could purchase more stocks. And if the stocks go up and say you bought them at $10 a piece, and then they shoot up to $20 a piece, say you have 5 of them, you're already making a profit just because you bought them at a low thing at a low cost. And some people also have that mindset that when you put money up, that 10, 5, $15 is just, oh, that's nothing. I eat that away, like I could go spend that at McDonald's, when in actuality, if you put it somewhere, it could gain.
That's true. And there's another one called I'm on Albert Savings. And that's another that shows you exactly what you're spending. Like I realized that majority of our money was going to fast food. Like,
Yeah.
because we're wondering, like, where's our money going? Eating out was costing money. Because think about it, it's $20 pretty much, $20 to $30, especially if you're a couple, with 20 by yourself. So that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You know, that's $60 a day. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? It's
right,
just
and not
you,
even
and that's
right,
eating up your money.
right, and then like when we used to work downtown, you could spend $20 in just on lunch, depending on where you
Right,
go.
right.
And
So that app shows me what I was spending on, and it also lets you save an amount where it automatically comes out of your account. And just something as small as saving $15 a check, it'll accumulate. If you don't touch it, you'll look up and you have a nice little nest there.
Correct. Yep, that's the other thing too. And then, the other thing is that something that, like, my husband taught me, and as well as when we were doing our coaching, was to make micro goals for the big goal. So make a big goal and then make the micro goals fall in line so that you could get to the big goal. You have to do that as well in financial stability. You have to see, okay, well, you have to look at all your finances, look at everything, see where you could pay off first. And then once you get that, when you get that money and it's freed up, what you're going to do with it, always know where your dollar is going. Because if you don't know where it's going, you're going to think it's just money and just give it away. And the other thing too is having a mindset of a difference of a want and a need. Do you need it, or is it just a want? Because we impulse buy all the time. I impulse buy when I go to the grocery store. I'm like, ooh, I want that, I want that. But then after a while, I'm like, I really didn't need that. Like, do we really need 3 different types of ice creams? No, we didn't.
But in our mind, we need it. We gotta have it. Oh, I need to have it so bad. Oh, I need those shoes. I need those shoes in my life, and you don't wear the shoes that you already have.
Right.
And so it's okay to splurge, but make sure you have it to splurge. Or if you want some shoes or a purse that's like $100, $200, put some money up slow, like you said, a micro goal, instead of spending the whole $200 and now you're trying to figure out how to pay your light bill. It's just all about maneuvering and being smart about your choices.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and the other thing too is that, like, the other problem that I find that a lot of people, and what I used to do too, is if I worked overtime, I'm like, okay, I don't have this overtime check, I'm gonna be able to buy me this and buy me that, instead of looking at like, okay, I got this overtime check, let me pay off something, because that's money that I usually don't have monthly anyway.
Right. You want to know another thing that gets us? When I was in college, something I wished I would have did. When you get that overage, that financial aid refund, I know somebody that never spent it, but they paid it back. Like every time the government gave them that refund, they paid it right back. So about time they graduated, their balance wasn't as high because they were giving back that overage. And so if you have financial aid, I know it's thousands of dollars and you struggling in college, but sometimes it's best to just give that back. Like I wish I had, because I don't have any of that stuff I spent my refund on. Not one thing.
Right. Like for instance, like Nicole, she's home from school, and she's on a scholarship, but she still has to take out like a couple of little small loans, but they have to give her reimbursement check for her tuition. She takes half of that every time she gets it since March, and she got one in September. She takes half of it and puts it in her Robinhood account and purchases stocks.
Okay, right. And so when she does graduate, she can pay that back just off investments. They say you need to have 7 streams of income, but half of those streams you should be accumulating in your sleep, where you don't have to put forth effort on all of your streams of income. And that's where I want to get, where I wake up and I'm making money in my sleep. So we got some comments here. Mom says, yep, she does her max 401k. I do too, because I was talking to my Fidelity, my retirement person. He says that you're supposed to live, 15% supposed to go to retirement, 20% in savings, because you need to have at least 3 months worth of salary in your account, and then the rest goes towards bills or whatever you want to spend it on. So that was his little rule of thumb that he gave me. Then mom says, now I'm going to start putting up my eating out money to see the savings. Eating out eats up your money. And what I noticed on my mom's room is she has a jar that's listed vacation and something else. And I love it because she putting money in that. So when she does want to go out of town, those funds are allocated towards vacation and whatever else that other one was. And I thought that was a good idea. That's similar to that envelope idea. You ever heard of that?
Yes. So we do something kind of different. My husband, in my household, my husband takes majority of the finances, and he can have it. I'm fine with that. I'll deal with the household and the kids and things. So, I know of the things that need to be paid, but he handles majority of it. But he also lets me know like the investments and things, stuff that we do. So what we do. Yeah, it is. It is a hard job. That's why I'm like, you can have it. Because I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't good with money at first at all. Wasn't good with money at all. When we got married, it was just like, oh, we have extra money. Okay, what we gonna do? We're gonna go out to eat. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. He was like, no. How about we put it towards the principal of our mortgage? Oh yeah, yeah, we could do that. Things of that sort. I'm like, oh, okay, we're gonna do that.
Yeah,
I really wanted something good to eat, but we could just put it to the bill. Because think
right.
about it, when people go to like big out, fancy out restaurants all the time, they'll drop like $200 to go eat at an expensive seafood place, and that $200 could be your insurance. It could be your grocery money for the month. It could be, I mean, for the week. Like that's probably mine a week with
Right.
all
And if
the
you eat out, take that money and put it up. And you'd be surprised how much money you have at the end of the year.
right. I mean, the thing is too is that a lot of it is breaking old habits, like of
Yeah.
how your parents are. Like my mom lived check to check. It was no savings. It was nothing. And when she told me, like when I hit high school, I'm just like, you're on your own for college. I have no fund for you. I'm not gonna be able to help you pay. So if you want to go to college, either go to community college or you're or you're gonna basically have to take out student loans and such. And
Yeah.
and then
And
back then that's when you used to fill out financial aid and you used to say a prayer, put it in the envelope and in the mailbox and send it off. There was no like take it to, go online and do your fast when you just put in your social security and your income tax stuff just pops up and automatically populates for Nicole now. I'm like, I never got that chance. You're lucky. Because if
yeah,
you
it's
get that,
simple now. But it's
right.
predatory. It's predatory. You're giving 18 and 19-year-olds thousands of dollars. Then when you go on campus, first I'm about to do this comment. But first, when you first go to college, you're walking past these credit card tables. Hey, we'll give you a free t-shirt for a lifetime of debt. Like it's so predatory because they prey on you as soon as you hit college, as soon as you out of high school. Everybody trying to get your money. Like, man.
No, I'm sorry. My husband's over here. I don't know if he's taking pictures or video of me. He's doing something. He's harassing me.
So Jay Jackson says, any advice for someone who feels like every job I work, I'm just working to make the CEOs rich and I'm scraping by after rent and gas. Don't splurge at all. Right. And that is not how it should be.
No, it
That is
shouldn't.
not how it should be.
At the same time, you just have to think about how can you get yourself out of it. What are your
Right.
financial um, obligations? And yeah, you can't think about the CEO because he already did what he needs to do. You need to think about what can you do. Don't compare yourself to other people because everyone else's financial stability is different. He may be the CEO, but his lifestyle might be like living lavishly, splurging, and he's probably in debt. Like I know people that make really good money, but they made wrong choices by buying a $300,000 house. And now that they, because of COVID or something, they can't pay their mortgage and they're having a hard time selling it because they're going to be upside down. So it's just, you can't compare yourself to other people because what financial stability is to you is probably not what the other person is.
Yeah, but that's easy to say when you're working and spending your valuable time, your younger years, making someone else rich and nothing is going in your pocket. Like, I don't even think it's the art. I don't even think it's a comparison. It's I'm watching you thrive off of my hard work. And while I'm sitting here struggling, I'm still making you rich.
But at the
Like,
same time, that's any job you go into, though.
yeah,
That's any
it is,
job
but
in,
I'm saying
right.
that I think that's what Jay is saying. Like it gets discouraging. Like this CEO has this lavish life, and Jay said don't splurge at all. So that means if Jay is not splurging at all, that means there's no. I mean, if you want to get like a shirt or just go out, go out to eat and treat yourself, you can't because you live in paycheck to paycheck, and maybe turn a hobby into a job. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? If
just
there's
figure
something that
out
you really
what
like to
well, I
do.
mean, I guess just do what you feel like. For me, is like, and you could contest to it. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm gonna do to get rid of my regular 9 to 5 job. You know,
Right.
um, I dabble in things here and there, and I that's why you and Trinity and everyone else starts laughing when they're like, "Oh, what do you do, Celia?" You say you do everything, because it's like I have different things I like to do. I just haven't stuck with one thing yet. So I still work my 9 to 5, and because the way my household is, my husband is a photographer, videographer, and we
Right.
have good seasons, slow seasons. So it's that, but you have to make sure that where, like, we know when the slow season is going to come, so we know, okay, we need to start putting stuff up, because
Right.
we already know that this is coming. And the pandemic, I think, is teaching a lot of people their actual spending habits, because now the regular income that was coming in on a every 2 week or every month basis, or every first and 15th of the month, wasn't coming, and you had to rely on your unemployment, and if there was no overtime, like things like that. Like, a lot of people live off of overtime.
Yeah.
Like, their regular paycheck don't work. Like, for instance, think about fathers that have to pay child support. Not 9 out of 10
Yeah.
times they're working overtime just so they can make ends meet. So
To
all
pay
that
their
is
rent
cut.
because they child support so high.
Right, right. So it's just
Oh, okay, Mom.
car repairs is in the other. Oh, she has a car. Man, you have a lot of jars in your
It's
house.
just 2 jars. I couldn't think of the second jar. And so Jay says my white counterparts are making the same, but they already are set up by their families for success by having good savings. And that is why we're talking about this today.
Right.
So they're making the
So,
same thing, but yet your scenario is paycheck by paycheck, but they have a cushion. So it doesn't really matter how much they get paid. They're just working.
well, in that case, I just feel that maybe you should look and just start saving little by little. Like, for instance, just basically think about how you tell kids, like my kids, they know that they want something. Like, right now, they're trying to get this PS5 for Christmas.
Isn't
And
everybody?
so my husband telling them what you got on it. They literally, they sit there and laugh. But at the end of the day, he'll like, "What do you got on it?" He's not gonna take their money, but he want to see what they gonna say. They'll turn around and come in, and Logan and Xavier be like, "Well, I got $30, I got $20, I got this. This is all we got." Like, they're willing to give that. And the crazy part is that for them to be able to willing to give, like when we were younger, 20, $30 was like, we rich. But teaching them that at a younger age, that things cost money, and showing them, like when we go to the grocery store, I'm like, "You see this? This is food only for the week." And then they'll look and they're like, $232 just for 1 week? I'm like, yeah. So when you ask me for
Two
a
hundred
game and
and
I tell
thirty
you no,
dollars for a week.
well, I'm just giving a scenario. I coupon. That's before my coupons and stuff. But yeah, you forget we have a house. We have a family of 6, and I got 3 boys and a
Yeah, I
grown
forgot. You
man.
got boys. You got a lot of boys. Yeah. Kristen says when we have extra money, I feel like whatever clothes I see online for the kids, I have to buy it. And Nate is teaching me everything I see, I don't have to buy. That is
You
one of
don't
those mindsets.
know. One thing
Just
I
because
learned
you
about
see it
mom,
don't mean, and it'll go on
right.
sale eventually. Go ahead, Sarah. I'm sorry.
Right. No, it's fine. Just like you said, like, saving for something that you want. Sometimes 9 out of 10 times when you're saving for something you want, it's probably by the time you save up for it, it's gonna go on sale and you could probably buy it for a cheaper price. And for
Mm-hmm.
me,
And that has
I like
happened to
it.
me.
I try to buy stuff off season for clothes. And you seen when I used to work at Pierce, I'd be running to Target like, "Oh, I gotta go get these winter clothes in the summertime on
Yeah.
clearance for $5-6." And that's how you shop. But I also put a budget, because there's times where I wouldn't put a budget. I'll be spending like $200-$300 on clothes for the kids, and I'm just like, did I really need to buy all these clothes? They're about to grow like 2 inches in a month.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Mom says she's cooking dinner. She's saving money. Good job, Mom. Mom says we have to control our spending and saving, not those things control us. Right? Because we don't have to have these things.
Right.
Jay said
So
true.
you have other sites? Do you have other slides, or this is the last whole slide that you have?
No, it's a couple of them. I'm just gonna go through the comments and then we can go through. I was just about to say it's every damn job pretty much. Yeah, that's the comment on the CEOs. Then Kristen said,
Right.
yes, it's very discouraging seeing your boss living lavish while you're living paycheck to paycheck. I completely understand, Jay. Yeah, I get it too.
Well, at the same
CEOs
time,
going on trips and stuff.
right. But at the same time, do you ever hear the saying, "Don't count other people's money"? Even though they look like
Yeah,
they're having this lavish in life, they probably going back home and have all these bills. just like for instance, like there's people that like family members I know, they when they want to go on vacation, they'll charge it on their credit card, and they'll be complaining that they don't have the money to pay for it, but yet you going on vacations and you're crying broke, or they're not paying their rent because they know that they can't file an eviction on them until 90 days. Like they know the system, so they look like they're living this lavish and like they just know the system to be able to get around spending the money that they should be spending on rent or things like that.
Right, because outside looking, I see what you're saying. Outside looking in, it may look like it's lavish, but they not paying their bills and they more in debt than you are.
Right, right. Like when I
Which is
learned
what
that,
the financial guy told me. He said there's a lot of people with really high salaries, you know, within my job, and they are in so much debt.
yeah,
And you know, and they're because they're trying to they're outside their means, you know. Yes, the pandemic had and is teaching me a lot. Jay says, I lost both my jobs. Oh, I'm sorry. My savings, my car this year, and just started working a new job that is $2 above minimum wage with a bachelor's degree. We all got to stay strong. I feel
yeah,
you on that one. I feel
right.
you on that
You
one.
do, and at the same time, it's like you you know, like for instance, I'm gonna be honest, like when I had a car, and then when I started working downtown, I was like, what do I need this car for? Like it's sitting in front of my house every day. My husband has his car and he drives the kids to and from school, picks them up and stuff, and I take public transportation. Well, now I get drove to work because of the virus and stuff, but it was like, why do I need this other car? And I'm paying $400 a month for a car, and then plus insurance for something to just sit in front of my house and for me to only use on the weekend. So I told them, take it. You can have it. You have it back. And then, basically from there, they auction it off, and then the difference and things like that, and you just decide from there. The other thing too, a lot of people are afraid to file bankruptcy, thinking it's the worst thing in the world. And sometimes bankruptcy is the best option. A Chapter 7 might be the best option to wipe your debt from stuff that you did from grammar school, I mean, from high school, or I mean, college, things like that. From the time you're 18 and stuff and having stuff like that, it wipes it off and you could rebuild your credit. It's easier to rebuild credit now than it was 15 years ago.
It is, unless you got student debt. Because Jay, you said that you got a bachelor's degree. Did you take out loans? Do you owe student debt? That's another thing. They give you these thousands of dollars, and then you have 6 months to start paying
Right.
it back. They're assuming you're going to get a job that can
Right.
pay for that. So if student loans were included in bankruptcy, I would have filed years ago. Years ago. And I don't
But
understand why that's not part of
well, that's the
bankruptcy.
other thing too. That's another thing that we have to teach our communities is that a lot of people get stuck in these different types of loans. People say student loans and don't know that there's two different types of student loans, and they sign stuff not knowing that there's federal loans and there's private loans.
Don't get private loans.
Right, because private loans is basically what happens to a lot of people, and they call it gap loans. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these profitable schools give those out, and then those are the ones that you cannot defer, and they don't go off based off your income. It's whatever you have to pay. That's what you have to pay once you get out after 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's something that like was taught to Nicole through like not only us, but also the fact that she was like in this program that Northwestern University gives for CPS kids. If you go to a CPS high school, then you have to go through this whole process, and they walk you through the whole 4 years of high school. And they taught them, like they had the parents and everybody come in, and they taught them about the different types of loans, how to go on the school's websites to figure out if they're going to if they're a profit school, a non-for-profit school, and basically educating them. There's a lot of things now to educate kids in regards to financial literacy, as well as not how to get into student loan debt. And there's a lot of grants and things out there now that people could get, but it's just the fact that the kids, people just don't know. And that's because
Yeah.
we need to teach our kids our communities to ask.
Yeah,
There's
and
more.
to look out for grants and scholarships and get into those, like you said, those programs in high school that'll help pay for it versus a loan. Like a loan should be probably the last option to no option. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like right
So
now, Nicole has small, of course, if anyone don't know, my daughter's about to be 20. She's a sophomore in college, and she has small student loans. They're not a lot. And but she has the small ones, and they're government. So I told her, because she didn't understand it, like, oh, okay. I was like, well, you have this work study. You're doing student work. It's it's tax free, so you're not getting taxed. So I was like, me and your dad pay for everything. You don't have to pay for room and board. So the only thing, you have your little check that you get from there. Go on your student loan website and see what the interest is every month, and every month make that payment, because she didn't understand that even though you get interest, she didn't understand that that if it's $15 in interest this month, next month it's going to be more than that, maybe an additional $20, because it doesn't go off of the balance that you took the loan out for. It's whatever that balance is at that moment. So she
right.
saw that, and we calculated it for her whole 4 years, and she was like, what? And so I was like, yes. So you're going to be having it. She's like, so it's basically double with the interest by the time I get
Yep.
out. I say,
The
yes.
interest is crazy.
So she, every month, she makes that payment of, like, I think it's like $27.50 a month that she has to pay, that is interest. So she just makes the interest payments for right now. And then, so she does that. So by the time she gets out, it'll only be what her loan amount was for each year.
That's good advice, Celia. That's good advice for someone that's in college. That's great advice. I wish I had known that.
Right. And then the other thing too, I'm sorry, I was reading Kristen's comment.
She said, but to be honest, sometimes it's hard to save when you're living paycheck to paycheck, because your checks are literally enough to pay your bills. And sometimes it's not even enough to pay your bills. So saving little out your check is easier said than done when you're already trying to make ends meet.
Okay, so this is another thing that I learned throughout the years, which me and my husband were living paycheck to paycheck, and we thought that we had to claim zero for taxes. Like is basically, don't take as much as you could take out of my check. Like whatever, claim the max, whatever. So you take the most out of my check, and I'll get the rest at the end of the year. But then you're struggling throughout the year because they're taking a lot of money out of your check. So we did research and whatever, and my husband, this is because we had two incomes, we were able to do this. He was making more money, so half of the year he would claim exempt, meaning they don't take no federal taxes out of his check, only the state taxes, right? And that gave us more money throughout the year, and I would only claim like one or two, so they didn't take as much. And then when we filed our taxes, it was basically like, it wasn't even that much of a difference, but we realized that we didn't use our credit cards more throughout the year. We did it because of the fact that we had more physical cash. So, because the thing is, if you have less money throughout the year and you're hoping to get this big tax refund back, what do you usually do when you get your taxes back? You usually pay off your credit. Most people will try to pay off their credit card debt that they used throughout the year, but you're actually paying more because you're paying that interest. So depending on like your dependents, you could try to, people get scared, like, I'm going to owe this and that. The only person I ever had to owe was like the state of Illinois. I don't understand why. I'll get this big refund check at the end of the year, but then I owe the state of Illinois $30.
I always owe Illinois when I lived there. Always.
I'm like, $30 when
they've never paid me anything.
The crazy part is they used to make me send in like a cashier's check, because I'm like, just take it out of my refund. No, you gotta send a cashier's check. So there's like other things too. Did you have any more things you want to talk about with your slides?
Yeah, I feel like we were on this one slide, so I'll go through the rest of them. That one slide kind of caused all this conversation. So Jermaine says, I've saved up pretty good during the quarantine because I literally stayed in. Yes, that's how I was able to pay off. We paid off both our car notes, so we have no car note now, and we paid off two credit cards that had like a high balance. So because we weren't able to go out and hang out like we normally did, we took that money and we paid some things off, and I'm so grateful for that. Even with the stimulus, like pay it off, put some up, things like that. So I feel like I got more financially responsible in the pandemic, just for the simple fact that I was kind of forced to. So with that being said, I just started researching and learning other new habits. So that kind of helped us get a little bit ahead. He
Right.
said,
And
now
then
that I was forced back to work, I'm dipping into my savings. My mother always says it costs to go outside. It does. It
it
does.
does. It does. It does. And then, the other thing too is that we talked about the mental mindset. So what I do is I actually make a spreadsheet, and then you could go like on Excel, or you could even like go to and find like different things, and you could post all your expenses or like all your goals, and put them where like they're visually seen. It reminds you every day, so that this way you leave the house mentally thinking, okay, this is the goal, and here, so you already have that mindset of like, this is what I'm going to work for. I'm working for me to work towards this micro goal to get to the bigger goal. And then you have that mindset already, so that when you leave the house, it's stuck in your head, compared to when you leave the house, it's like, I'm going to this job that I'm working, living check to check. And it's just trying to find that positive concept of, okay, I'm leaving the house to go to work for me to be able to do this, and this.
Right. So yeah, oh, Jermaine says, so sorry to hear that, Jay. But Jay, this is temporary. This state is just temporary. I just want you to know that. Remember when you go through in the past, when you went through something and it just seemed like it was never going, you were never going to get through it. I promise you, you're going to get through this. And yes, student loans too. I just feel consistently behind the blockage. Yes, and I totally identify with this. I totally identify with this. But one of the things that Celia said is make a plan. Make a plan. Okay, this is when perspective and mindset comes in. I do not want this to be the status next year. So what do I see myself? That's when manifestation comes. Where do I see myself next year? And it doesn't have to be nothing elaborate. It could just be you have 100 in your savings or 200 saved up. It doesn't have to be elaborate. And you make that plan. You put that on paper, and then when you make three big goals, and underneath those three big goals, number 1 through 10. The numbering 1 through 10 under each goal are your micro goals,
Here goes your
and
life
write
coaching.
down the steps in order to accomplish. I'm a micro goaler, to accomplish those goals, and be patient with yourself when it doesn't seem to be moving fast enough. So you make a plan and have patience while through the process. There's a lot of P's, and make and have patience through the process.
Right. And then
And
the other thing too is that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, that's all I had to say.
And also with
Yes, keep
Jay,
praying, keep pressing. This today's
right.
live is brought to you
So
by
like
the
right
letter.
now, Jay might have it to where his goals will be to basically, okay, you say you're working a job that's making $2 more than minimum wage. So maybe, right now you maybe not be able to save nothing, but your other goal is to basically have a better job. So maybe make a goal of filling out maybe 5 applications a week, sending out your resumes. The other thing I found was kind of useful is going on LinkedIn and liking or following the pages of the companies
Yep.
that you want to work for, so that this way, if they have job openings, you get alerts, or they may go and see who's following us, and then they look at your profile.
And reach out
So
to the hiring manager on LinkedIn. I've done that.
yes, 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 because you could always go on there and
That's a
find them.
bold
Because
step. Yeah.
9 out of 10 times, that's where most HR people are going, is LinkedIn. So they're gonna have a page. So you could search them, and you can even put employees, and it'll show everyone that's employed that has a LinkedIn page. This is HR manager. Reach out to them.
And make sure your LinkedIn page is completed, like is fully completed. I actually looked up something on YouTube and filled out my entire until the thing said 100% completed, like, and filled my LinkedIn page is completely filled out.
I guess
And
that should be my micro goal, because mine is not fully completed.
it took me 2 weeks to get all that filled in. Then I had to have the picture, and I'll show it. Oh, here's the other slide. Chaotic subconscious. Does your home or work environment subconsciously tune your mind into a vibration of lack rather than abundance?
Every day. That's mine. I have to my job right now. Woo, every day my job right now. I be sitting and looking at this man in my job like, I cannot believe you. Just like yesterday with okay, so Illinois, real quick story. The mayor put in an advisory order for people to stay at home, and if you could work from home, they advise you to work from home. This man had the nerve to say it's not an order, it's an advisory, so it's not necessary.
It is an order. It says
And,
stay at home order.
well, no, it's not. It says an
Oh, it's not.
advisory. Meaning she's
Oh,
advising people to stay home. It's not a put in order. And she was doing that because in hopes that the governor will follow suit with an order, because if she puts an order in, he could override her order if he wanted to. So she put in it. It's just an advisory that says until within the next 30 days, she's advising people to stay at home, to cancel any big gatherings, things of that sort. Only go to work, whatever. This and that. He's like, it says go to work, and I'm just like, mind you.
But I work from home, right? And so my first workstation was in my bedroom, which was kind of daunting because it's like I'm in the room that I sleep at night and I was having a hard time sleeping. So my safe haven was turning into a stress nightmare because I'm literally sleeping with my work. So after getting advice for someone I interviewed on my podcast, I moved my workstation, which is why it's a different background. Feel like I'm going to change these curtains though now, but I moved my workstation into the additional room, and I now sleep better because when I wake up, I'm not looking at my workstation. So it was a lack of motivation for me, like to even get up and go to work or to go to sleep. So now I've in my mind, I've separated my work from home, because this
Right.
one room is where my job is, and when I go in that bedroom, I'm off work. I can be me, So that is how I changed my work environment. I guess my work and home environment is the same exact thing right now. So I had to separate it. So I thought that was a really good question though. And discipline not to spend even though you have, right? Matter of fact, here's a trick. If you're putting something up for saving, don't even count that money. Pretend you don't even have that money. If you only have $20 in your checking account that you use, you only have $20 left. Don't say, "Oh, I got 20, but I got like 150 in my savings." Nope, you do not have
Right.
that 150 in
That's
your savings.
why. That's
You
why.
have
Like,
$20.
right. That's why, like the Robinhood account we have, because you
Mm,
could purchase the stocks, and then say if you need the money, you could sell your stocks, and then you could get the money for it. Because it's so much of a process to get your money. It's kind
mm-hmm.
of like, do I really want to go through this process? And then thing is, you don't see it. Because me, if I see it, like for right now, we have checking account and savings account. If I see the money in that savings account, sometimes I'm like, I'm just gonna transfer this 20 over here. It'll be fine.
Yep.
So it's like if you don't see it, then don't do it. Like my cousin was talking about this. I was talking to her, and she just bought a house with her kids. She's a single mom. She said she don't even have her savings account attached to her app on her phone because she
Nope.
sees it. So she literally has to log into it. It is not attached to her phone. She can't transfer the money. She has to literally go into the bank to transfer it.
Yeah, and I don't
Or
even have a debit card. I don't even have a card connected to my savings. So if I need to go, like, I gotta really get up out the house. It's not convenient for me ever. Like, make it as inconvenient as possible. Like when you and also establish what's an emergency.
yeah,
Getting your hair done all of a sudden or catching a sale is not an emergency. Define what is an emergency for you, because if you don't, everything is going to be an emergency. That's kind of like that need and want thing. Like everything
right.
is going to be deemed an emergency.
Yep.
So mom says LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn is a great networking tool. I just started really utilizing it. I'm sure it'll be in order by December. What'll be? Oh yeah, that stay-at-home order will be in by
I don't
December.
know. The governor said it yesterday that it doesn't look too good for us. We just hit 15,000 cases, and usually we're like 2 days behind in the real actual numbers. So I think
Oh
it's gonna
Lord.
come soon.
Oh Lord. Jay said, I know quite a few people who have started showing off their bodies online since coronavirus, and they're making serious money just from taking nude photos. Their income and savings have all boomed. Yeah, OnlyFans. Yeah, I don't know if you're speaking of OnlyFans, but I know there's even a lot of celebrities, a lot of and it's weird, and this is a funny story, but I was sitting one day just quiet. And in my mind, I was thinking like, oh my God, there are a lot of people who can't work during this pandemic. Why did strippers? That was the first thing that came to my mind. I'm like, oh my God, how are they supposed to be making their money now? So then weeks later, I'm watching a YouTube channel and come to find out they started OnlyFans That's how I found out about OnlyFans. They started OnlyFans, and they're making like more money doing it, whatever they're doing virtually, than what they were doing in the club. And I'm
Well, they were
like,
also in Vegas. They had a drive through strip thing. You stand outside. They were like outside, and you would drive through and watch them strip on like these like box like these like stage they made outside. I was like, this is what we're coming to.
yes, it's
It's more like
celebrities are doing it now.
it's like, okay, it's more like you're moving towards prostitution because you're literally on a corner just dancing on a pole.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah,
So
people have found some interesting ways of making money during the pandemic, and that's what I'm saying. We can make creative. We can, I don't know, use our creative juices on making money,
well,
thinking
that's what
outside
I
the
think
box.
now. I think now a lot of
It's
like
coming, mom.
a
Hmm.
lot of artists, like a lot of like create a lot of people are starting to be creative, figuring out creative ways to not only make money, but a lot of artists now are kind of like coming like up because people are noticing like, oh, they do art, they do this, they do that, because they're now everyone's trying to be creative, trying to figure out how to
Hmm.
make creative money. Like, for how many people I knew started sewing masks. I'm like, okay, but your masks are what are the material you're using, because your material don't look very good. Like, you
Why you
try
so
to be
picky? Why
supportive.
the baby can't sell masks?
Well, my thing is that, okay, you're using a mask to help protect people, so you're gonna, for them to not spread germs. So a silk mask may not be the best thing because it's gonna get wet, like certain things like that, or you need to get your sizes right or things like that. And then they're like, why are you not supporting me? I have enough mask, okay, for
No,
one.
my mother got a mask in every color. There's no such thing as enough masks for her. Jermaine says a lot of dancers out here in LA are doing it because the clubs and artists have stopped. Yes, and OnlyFans are not just for new purposes, but people are doing it for, making shows and showing their art and things like that on OnlyFans. But I mean, the reputation is new, but people are doing other things on OnlyFans. I wanted an OnlyFans, and I brought it to Derek, and he was like, "Absolutely not."
I wouldn't even fix my
He
mouth
said,
to
"What you
ask.
need that
I wouldn't
for?"
even fix my mouth to ask my husband if I could have an OnlyFans page.
Why my mama got a
He'll probably
stripper
kick me
name?
out the
Mellow
house.
Yellow. We're changing this subject. My mother's Mellow Yellow. Oh my God.
Uh,
So the next slide is limiting
is
beliefs.
limiting beliefs.
Write down every negative message you've ever heard about money, whether it's from family, society, religion, or pop culture. Next to each belief, write down a corresponding positive belief and focus on those. E.g., money is the root of all evil becomes I'm a good person no matter how much or little money I have. First of all, money is not the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. Money is a resource to get what we want. It's the intent behind how we get the money, or if we're greedy, or if we're gonna hurt somebody in order to get the money. That's where the evil comes in there. But money is not the root of all evil. It's a resource. We need money, but we don't need it so bad where we're going to kill somebody for, or rob somebody for, or con somebody out of it. So I
I
know
don't
that
know,
that is
because
a highly misconstrued scripture. Sorry, that's a pet peeve. But yeah,
no, I mean, in the same sense, I mean, I see what you're saying, but at the same sense, it is kind of evil because money is the reason why a lot of people get divorced,
that's the
because
number one reason for divorce,
right, it's
over
that. And
infidelity.
right, and that's because I feel like a lot of people don't have that conversation before they get married. Um, they don't have that conversation before they get married of like, okay, how are the finances going to be? Are we going to do this? And I'm not knocking like people or people that are like, or women that are independent and such like that. But I find, me and my husband had this conversation about how we notice, people that we know that are married, and the woman, makes the same amount of money or more than the man. And yeah, she's the independent, and she's independent or wants to be independent, but at the same time, it's kind of like, I make more money than you. You can't tell me what to do with my money. But if it was the other way around, if it was the man saying that to the woman, then he would be wrong.
Correct.
So
And
it's
that's not
basically
right.
right. It becomes these double standards of certain things, and then it's also the fact of just like, you know, um, a lot of married people have separate accounts, which that may work for some people. For some people, it won't, because one person might be paying more bills than the other person. You don't know what the other person is spending. So it's kind of like, okay, if we combine our money together, we could probably hit these goals faster, because we can monitor each other and hold each other accountable if we don't do what we say we're going to do or say what we're going to say. Because if I don't see what my husband's spending, he don't see what I'm spending, then how do we know exactly how much we could put up?
Right.
And
Exactly.
that, and then that also puts a little strain on trust too.
Yeah.
So it's,
That's the
that's
thing. They want their quote unquote independence. I don't want nobody to know how much I got. But this, when you get married, that's y'all money. That ain't no longer his
but
money, her money. It's y'all
that's not
money.
how a lot of people look at it though. They have like I know a couple that's been married for probably like just barely a year, and they have like separate accounts. They don't, and sometimes she don't know what he makes, and he don't know, like it's like, okay, well, I don't even know what he's spending his money on,
Yeah.
and then when it's time to pay the bills, and be like, oh, I don't have this or whatever, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, how do you not, and I think right now that a lot of because I work for an attorney's office, and one of the attorneys like, I'm starting to get a lot of people asking me how much divorce is going to cost, because they really seeing what their spouses are spending on, because they lost their job or they're you
Yeah,
know
because you're not
you know
working every day to be broke because you gotta have this. I remember when we worked, because we met at a law firm. We used to be coworkers. Now we're friends. And I remember the husband would call him like, I don't even know why we're in foreclosure. He was a truck driver. He was like, I send her money every month, yet we're in foreclosure. What is she doing with the money? And he's asking me. I'm like, I don't know, sir. Like, how do you not pay for a roof over your head? And how do you think that your husband is never going to find that out? Like, how do you think that's possible?
Yeah, I know somebody that actually, like, they had a line of credit on their home, and the wife was like writing checks, signing his name, taking money to pay. So taking the line of credit, paying, writing checks, cashing the checks off the line of credit to pay the mortgage for the money she was spending for for shopping. And then it ended up being where it's like they get, after a certain amount of limit, they'll send a thing saying, hey, you're at this limit of your line of credit. And that's how he found out. And it was like
Oh, no.
$20,000 worth of the line of credit. You have to pay back anyway, but she was taking that to pay the mortgage. Like, it's so
That's a lot of energy to be deceiving. Like, it's just too much energy.
well, that's because a lot of people, if you think about it, goes back
Oh,
to
crap.
your mindset.
Yeah. The
Your
companies are
mindset.
growing. I'm sorry, go ahead.
It goes back to your mindset, because it's like, if you're being honest with yourself and with the person you're with, then you wouldn't have to be, deceitful to a extent to where you can't say, hey, you know what, I messed up, I spent this much money, or I
Yeah.
shouldn't have spent this, or you know what, I'm gonna take these shoes back because I shouldn't have spent $130 on these gym shoes.
Right. Or at least let your spouse know, yeah, I'm going to get these shoes. And they'll be like, you
Or
probably
discuss
tried.
it, with your
Yeah,
spouse.
you probably can, save half here and we save the
Because
next.
when
Then
you
you
say tell your spouse, it's kind of like, okay, you know what, I bought these shoes. That's you telling your spouse. That's not having a
know
discussion
you're
like, hey,
asking your spouse.
right.
Yeah. But
To see some
if you're afraid to bring it up to your spouse, 9 out of 10, you shouldn't buy it.
right, but that's the other thing. People feel that if you're asking your spouse if I could buy, like, not saying like, oh, I'm asking you like permission so you could give me permission. It's asking out of courtesy, like, hey, if I buy these, will be okay? Is this gonna hurt our financial situation?
That's
It's
just
not.
caring about the other person.
But that's the thing. A lot of people don't look at it that way at
Right.
all.
So Jay said he's trying to keep his good Christian beliefs. But yeah, desperation does make you tempted. And the only scripture I know can combat that is the God is our strength during our weakest. I know I'm probably saying it wrong, but that's when he works with us, is when we're at that point. So that's when that you have that little red person on your shoulder, like on TV, and a little white person on your shoulder, the little angel and the devil, like, no, you should go rob this bank. And like, no, don't do that. That's not right. It's going to be repercussions. So when you reach that point, just walk away from anything that's crazy.
Right. I mean, at the same time, like, I have been through a lot of different financial situations in my life, and and
Yeah,
also being
Jermaine
married.
got a question for you about that too.
Oh, What was it?
Jermaine first said, I feel like a lot of people who have all of it can be very evil. Look at this president and the rich people around him. It's a total mirror to the jobs we work and the usual mean-spirited managers. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, that is true, and it just all depends. But at the same time, it's like, for instance, like my job, like it's they have demeaning comments that, if you do something wrong, then it's like you're like the end of the jokes and things like that. They'll bring it up months later. And to me, it's like, why give that energy to them? Why waste that energy on that when you could waste it on trying to get out of that situation?
Right.
And and then the thing is,
Right,
at the
Mom.
same time, and then at the same time, it's like, for me, it's like, I just, at the end of the day, I look at it like, since you're talking about like being Christian, I look at it like, I don't have to answer these. I'm answering to God. So at the end of the day, the way
Exactly.
that I react to it is how I'm going to be judged for it. So why give them any satisfaction in regards to that? Why give that up? Why give that part up to be judged about? And it's like,
Right.
it's not about how you handle it's not about what's happening, it's about how you handle the situation. And it took me years to understand that. I used to be mad at the world and blame everybody, why you're the reason for this, you're the reason for that.
Yeah. Yeah, and then that's what my mom just said earlier, trust and accountability. That's when you have to hold yourself accountable for what you're
If
not
you were
doing
single,
versus
though, do you
paying
think your
attention to
situation would be a
everybody
lot more
else.
difficult
Yep. Do
financially?
you? Yeah, you read it.
Yes, because at the end of the day, I was I didn't know nothing about really financial stability. My husband basically is the one that kind of got us to this situation for me to understand it. So if I was single, I wouldn't understand it. I wouldn't, because there was a time where me and him weren't together before we got married, and yeah, I didn't I just charged up credit cards and didn't know, okay, I'm gonna pay them. If I don't pay them, well, it is what it is. And and I had my daughter when I was 18, so when I was getting credit cards, it was like, okay, I'm just gonna use it to do this and do that, and I didn't know nothing really about it. So I mean, would I be in a better financial situation? No, I probably be. I feel that I would probably be in a worse situation, or just figuring it out now.
Thanks for your honesty. Kristen said, but if you and your spouse have an understanding and an agreement when it comes to money, then separate accounts aren't a problem as long as you both keep the line of communication about money and about each one is getting paid, how much each one is getting paid, and then bring it together to pay bills and so forth. Yeah, it's all about being honest.
But at the same time, if you're doing that, why have separate accounts? Why don't you just put them together?
Because some people have some past moments where they got to get past the share accounts. You don't know a person's past.
I mean, but at the same time, that's how you teach each other to grow.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But
And
it would
and
be
that's how
it
you
would be the same if you knew what was in each other account too, though. You know.
but right. But at the same time, but it's like, why do I want to keep up with someone when I could just sit up and just do this and I already know? Like, hey, how much do you have in your account? Oh, you spent this money, then I tell you have to pay. Like, yeah, you have the open lines of communication, but that's like a line for error. Like, trust me, because me and my husband had separate accounts at one point at a time. And it was just like, okay, it was like, transfer me this money. And I'm like, wait a minute, so what's going on with this? And it was more, we had more conversations about where and how the money was getting distributed, instead of it being like, okay, it's in this account and this is what's going to this account. So that's what it is. I mean, we have an account where we just send the money for the bills, and then we put the money for the bills in there so you don't accidentally dip into the bill money. So everything gets taken out of one checking account, and that money is just for the bills. We send it there, and everything gets taken out for the bills. And then we have the account that we actually use for like things that we need.
Makes sense. And mom said trust and accountability. You have to do what works for you. Yeah.
Right. I mean,
At
it's
the end of the day, you have to do what works.
right. Everything is for,
Right,
everybody.
Chris.
Everything is different for everyone.
That's true. And my mom said separate works best for some and joint works for others. There's no set rule. That's true. The problem comes in when you start lying about, if you do have a separate account, start lying about how much you have or what you're spending it on. Like I feel like the whole secret and sneaky stuff is what would aggravate me.
Right. And I just feel that, like,
Oh God.
Go ahead. Go with that. Go with
No,
your
no, no. I'm saying, oh
ignoring.
God, because I thought that was the last one. Oh, this is the
Oh,
last one. Okay. So ignoring the universe, because I feel like we went longer than we should have on this. Ignoring the universe. But it actually opened up conversation, so that's good. You must be used to tune. You must be used to tuning out or discrediting gut instincts so that this attitude is ingrained in your subconscious. However, this means you'll miss signs from the universe that's trying to point you towards wealth. A 10-minute daily meditation practice can help strengthen your intuition. I'll tell you what I used to ignore: opening my mail because I knew I owed somebody. But that just makes it worse. I feel like that's part of ignoring. You like
yeah.
ignoring what's in front of you, like thinking that it'll go away because you're not looking at it.
Or not opening up that email that says your account summary. I ain't opening that up. Like, it's not like they can see it. Like, they know I'm not gonna read it. Like,
Yeah, like it's not there because yeah, but meditation is
like
good.
if I open it up, they're gonna know. They're gonna get that red receipt.
Right. Just because I don't open the light bill don't mean they're not gonna get cut off because I didn't pay it. Like
Right, but like I said, it's like all mindset. So like for like I said, like at one point we had where we had the goals and our goals set up for like we printed them out, put them on the walls at different parts of the house, and that was like the first thing you see, so you automatically putting that and drilling in your mind and meditating it to like, okay, this is the goal, this is the goal, this is the goal. So when you leave out of your house, you're like, this is what's supposed to be.
right. Right. So I get the meditation and woo-sawing. Okay, so how are we gonna pay this? Let me take a minute. So not open the bills and then figure out a plan.
Right, and sometimes you gotta play with money. It's like a puzzle. Like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna move this here. This is not due to this, so I'm just gonna pay this right now. We can pay this with the next check. Like, it's just you gotta be creative.
Right. That's when you're creative. I mean, Derek used to call me the queen of payment plans. I'm like, you know what? I can give you this, and I can give you this.
And that's another thing too. A lot of people don't know, like especially now with the pandemic, like you could call your credit card companies, and my husband told me this. You could call and ask them for a decrease inside the interest of your credit cards.
Oh,
You could ask them, and the worst thing they could do is tell you no.
right, which is not the end of the world. And I've learned that payment plans are okay. If you need some extra money throughout the week, and if your job, I mean not your job, if the company is willing for you to put up a little bit, I mean just to pay $30 here just so you don't have to be struggling for the next paycheck, then please exercise your payment plan. It's just like being in school. A C is still passing. You don't always have to put all your money. I learned that from somebody. Like if you don't have it all, see if they have a payment plan, see if they have a workaround, because these companies have workarounds, but they're not going to advertise that. They're not going to advertise it.
Right, just like for instance, like right now, like I mean,
yeah, we started at 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Sorry, Celia, go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. And so at the end of the day, like there's certain things a lot of people don't know. Like right now, like for instance, with the pandemic and my husband being, self-employed, we weren't sure what type of financial situation we were going to be in, and if it was only going to be my income. Like he has a photography studio, so we have rent there. Then we have our own bills, and my income only covers our household bills, right? So that doesn't cover the rent at our studio, which we have a lease on, and then all the other things that transpire, things like that. So we ended up calling our mortgage company and getting doing the whole 90-day where they hold you don't have to pay a mortgage for 90 days and it's interest free because of the pandemic. You just had to send in a thing saying like you had a decrease or whatever. We got approved for it. We still paid our mortgage, but we used that as a cushion just in case.
Yes. Call and the other workaround. Right. That's awesome. And you didn't know about it unless you asked, right?
Right. And then the other thing people don't know about too, if you have car notes and say if you have a loss of income, or a decrease in income, like Jermaine, if you have a car right now, well, you said you lost your car, but say if you get another car, or people in general, a lot of people don't know, you can call your car dealerships, and some car dealers, some car loans, depending on how they do it will let you defer your payment 2 times a year or once a year, which means that you could tell them, hey, can you take this payment and put it on the back end of my loan? So say if you have 26 payments left, now you have 27. There's no late fees. It doesn't hurt your credit. It doesn't hurt your credit score. A lot of people don't know that. And some people, some companies will let you do it two months out the year. And you could push it back at the end of your loan. So, okay, say if your mortgage, say, you lost your job or it's decreased in hours, then you could do it that way. And then, so what I used to do when we were in a bad financial situation was, okay, I'm gonna defer my payment in December because it's 2019, and then when 2020 come in January, we're gonna defer it again because it's a new year.
Hey,
you gotta be
not
creative. You gotta be creative. And then,
right.
and then a lot of people don't know too, a lot of companies, like a lot of credit card companies, if you lost your job or have a decrease in income, you could call them and ask them if they had a hardship program. And most of the companies do, and then they'll send you documents and you send them like what you were making last month and what you're making now because you have a decrease in income, or if you're on unemployment, and they'll either defer your payments or refigure your payments to a lower payment plan. You may not be able to use your credit card. Sometimes it's like, oh, we'll stop your credit card. It won't hurt your credit score, but we can't let you use the credit card while you're on this payment plan type thing.
Okay. That's better than it hitting your credit.
Right. So
and it's better than a past due.
Right. It's just always calling asking if they have a payment plan or not.
Lisa said she missed the baby daddy hair discussion.
You could do the playback, Lisa. And so you have one more slide, you said, right?
Yeah, and so Jermaine laughed. Yeah, sorry, Lisa, we touched on it at the beginning. Did you have any commentary on that? So this is the one I wanted to cover. This is the big one. And I'm sorry we taking so much of your time, Celia. So
no, it's fine, because I still wanted to talk about the 401ks, the trust. That's what started it, the trust and the estate that a lot of minorities don't talk.
We're going to rush through this thing. Excessive generosity. Being generous is great, but to manifest abundance, you need to both be a giver and a receiver. Are you asking the universe, I'm about God, but are you asking the universe to help you and then refusing what it brings? Remember that your worth isn't only defined by what you can provide for others. It's healthy, positive, and your right to want things for yourself as well. And this is the biggest thing I feel like is present in the minority community, is that we feel obligated to hand over our wealth and anything we get to support our families. Yes, we do it, but we give when we don't even have it to support ourselves. And I feel like that's a really, really bad habit that we have. If I don't know, quote unquote, mom needs to pay her rent, but you don't even have enough to pay your rent, and you give it to her, now you don't have enough to pay your rent. And I find like a lot of people get caught up in that web where they feel like they have to give and give, and they're obligated to give, but you can't give what you don't have. So I thought that was a really important point with that, because a lot of people feel obligated to give their last away. What do you feel about that, Celia?
Yeah, yes, I truly feel like that. Like everyone like trying to give their last away and things of that sort. And I come from, like, my grandfather's from Guadalajara, Mexico, and he came here and came here on a work visa, then became a citizen, did everything right he was supposed to. But when he first came here, they he didn't have a social security. Credit at that time wasn't like the biggest thing. Like, you could go into a bank. He said that, my grandfather said that when he used to go to a bank and just say, hey, I need a loan, and that they would trust that, okay, you have this good job or whatever, we'll give you a loan. They didn't do credit checks. They didn't do all the financial stuff to get a loan. The only time you would have to do that is for, like, to buy a house or such like that. So, like, credit and stuff wasn't really necessary in a certain times ago. So for them to be able to teach my dad and my aunts and uncles was something that, like, they really didn't feel necessary because they didn't need it at the time before. So now that it's in this new era that, like, you need credit to get this, and you have to have a certain amount of money to get that, and you got to put so much money down on the house to get this, something that wasn't there before, but at the same time it's a mindset, because think about it, like with my grandfather, he didn't need the credit. It was about just saving money, buying what you need, and then you execute it, and then that's it. Like he comes from where the fact where this is where the complete trust comes inside a relationship. He worked for 3M and then turned around, and when he would get paid, give my grandma his whole check for her to pay the bills, and then his extra money was making homemade salsa and tacos and selling them at 3M at lunchtime to all the employees. And that's how he would make his extra money for him to go and do his own stuff. So it's a mindset. To him, it was like he didn't need that extra money, but he used that extra money for himself, because at the time he was, kind of an alcoholic. But the fact that he was still an alcoholic and knew, hey, I can't use my whole check to go drink. I'm going to make some side money and do it on my own.
Right.
So it's a mindset. Like he had a hustle for his addiction. That is the craziest thing to me.
Oh yeah, well at least he had the money, so he didn't have to do.
Well, he didn't spend all of it on there, but I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? Like that was like his money. He would give my grandma his whole check to take care of the household, and he knew exactly how much everything was, but he would give it to her and just to hand it over to her. She would take it to the bank and she would pay everything, do the groceries, do all the time management of the money and everything like that. And then he would make his side hustle was basically doing that. They used to call him Taco Joe. And so yeah, so it's a mindset, but it's also the fact that of also teaching yourself of, right now we have so much stuff at our hands.
Right.
The internet, YouTube, articles, YouTube channels, blogs, things like that. And like for instance, a lot of people don't talk about how people talk about 401k, but a lot of people don't understand that, like, you should try to max it out as much as possible, because if you max it out, it could be a tax deduction. And then also, like, for instance, a lot of minorities don't understand the concept of trust in an estate, the power of attorney, a will. They think they have a will, it covers everything. It doesn't. A will only indicates who gets certain things, and who's going to establish this. An estate is basically saying, okay, my house, like for instance, my grandparents have a house, it's paid off, right? The estate is basically indicating who's going to get the house if something happens to them, and if it happens to them, what the distribution would be, things of that sort. And if you sell it, then it gets divided evenly to prevent different types of things of happening, probate, court, things like that. So there's a will that basically distributes what everything is going to. An estate is basically indicating the properties. And then a trust is...
Wait, Celia, one question. Jay had the question, max out a 401k. What do you mean by that?
So basically, if you invest the max amount, which is, I believe it's 5,000 if I'm not mistaken. It's up to 5,000, and then it basically you could write a certain percentage. You could, when you do that, it becomes like a tax write-off at the end of the year, and it's because it's tax-free money. That's why you should put as much money as you can into your 401k, because it's basically pre-taxed, and then it's tax-free, and then you get a reimbursement. Well, not like a reimbursement, but you could write it off as on your taxes.
Okay. And Lisa said when she was in this situation as a child, it was always her sister who got, because her mama had so much more than hers. And every time we came together, it was so awkward. And I always felt so unseen. Oh yeah. I can imagine how unfair that would be. The parents, but it was circumstantial. So, but as a kid, you don't understand that. The parents so busy fighting about the money, ain't nobody paying attention to the kids' feelings. No, parents, it's unintentionally, but I think they just be in their own business. I saw your commercial on Instagram. This is real nice. Sis. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for coming. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And then you asked Jay about the 401k. All right. Trust.
So a trust is something where it's a lot of, for instance, I'll give a scenario. So my grandfather had a property. We're going to use my grandfather because he's old and has like all these things that a lot of my family didn't know about. And so they had a second property, and it was he wanted to keep it for my aunts and uncles for an inheritance. But it was getting to the point where my grandparents are getting old and there's no one in the house and it's not up to code. So they had to, it was going to cost more money to invest in it to even rent it out because it's not up to code.
Mm-hmm.
So they finally talked him into selling it. So he sold it, but he was scared. This is where it comes to the whole government situation. He gets his his retirement, but he also gets Social Security, right?
Mm-hmm.
But because their insurance would be, so he gets his insurance from 3M, but it doesn't cover everything, so they still get the Medicare, right, to cover
Mm-hmm.
their things of their medications and stuff like that. So, but in order for you to qualify for that, you can't make over a certain amount of money. So he was afraid to sell the building because he was afraid that because he has to send his stuff to Social Security every 6 months, I think it is, or every year, he was
Mm-hmm.
afraid that they would kick him off of everything because it would show this big lump sum of money. So I told them, I'm like, well, I told my aunts, and I'm like, you need to put it in a trust. Because when you put it in a trust, it's not considered income. It's basically you hold that money is for delegated to a certain amount to a certain people. So they sold
Hmm.
the property and put it into a trust, and it's not considered income because it's basically you're putting it up for, it's basically like a savings account, but it's basically for whatever it is. Like that's why some people are like, oh, you're a trust baby or whatever, because it's like your money, your parents put this money up for you to either be at a certain age or when they pass, this is the money that gets delegated to the different people.
So that's almost better than a life insurance policy.
Well, not necessarily, because the life insurance policy is basically you're just paying into it. You're paying into it. So say if I have a $250,000 life insurance policy, I'm paying $20 a month. If I die tomorrow, then my family will get the $250,000. The trust is money that you already have that from an investment or you're putting up for somebody. Like for instance,
But
if
it's,
I say, go ahead.
but it's good to have both in a sense, because life
Yes,
insurance is essentially to bury your lost one
not necessarily.
or to cover
Uh,
the house or whatever you.
right. So technically, I was reading that you should have um, at least a 30% more um, uh, um, average of a life insurance policy. So say if your home is your balance of your home is $150,000, what you have, right?
Mhm,
That's the balance of your home, and then burial costs, stuff like that is about an average 20,000 these days, right?
mhm.
So you have that, but then you have to think about other bills that accumulate afterwards. And if you have kids, you would want to leave stuff to your kids. So you should have at least 30% more of whatever your house is for you to be able to cover anything that if you have offsprings. So
Oh,
say, right, so 30% more of what your life insurance policy should be. So this way you could leave that money for them for college, things like that.
that's
Make sense?
smart. Yeah, that
Yeah.
does make sense.
Right. So like, so say if you come into a big amount of money, you could put it up in the trust. Some people will put it up, of course, to gain interest and stuff like that. But if you're putting it up for a certain type of reason, like for instance, that money, my grandfather don't need that money. Trust me, my grandparent, like they save so much money, they don't even know what to do with their money. But the whole
That's
thing
how I
with
want to
the
be.
right. So with them selling the property, that was for him to leave to the kids, to my aunts and uncles. So then you put it in the trust, and then the trust also has it the percentages or the amounts that each person gets. So you have the will that covers what who gets what. It's distributed through the court, so there's nobody fighting. The estate indicates like any additional properties that they have, and then also um, the properties and how it gets delegated, or if they should sell it, and if they do sell it, how it gets distributed, stuff like that. And then you have the trust, which is a set of money put in there for a specific reason. Some people put it in a trust until the kid turns 18 so they can use it for college. There's different types of things like that.
So
And that's how
Lisa
some
said, oh, sorry, go ahead.
what did you say, but
She
who
said, but
got
who
trust?
who got trust though? I don't know anyone with the trust, and that's why people of color are always in the back game. You right, because our
A
parents and
trust is
elders never set
basically,
that stuff up. How do they set that up, Celia? Like, how do you?
well,
Your
there's
point,
different ways you
Lisa.
could do it. Some people do it, you could do it through a bank. They could set up through a bank. You could get an attorney, and it's cost, I think we charge to set up a trust is like $300. So basically, like to do the documents, and then you put it in court. So that's the other thing. When you do an estate, a will, and a trust, it becomes a legal document because you have to get it recorded through the state, through the county. So you go to the city clerk, you go to the county clerk's office, and you file it. So it actually becomes a legal document. So when someone dies, the will covers what gets, like jewelry, all that type of stuff is inside the will. And then the bigger stuff becomes where there's the estate, and then it comes the trust. So the estate is the property, and that prevents people fighting over the house, trying to go to court saying they need to get this amount of money, that you owe this person money, things like that. So it establishes who gets what.
Can you
And
add to it like if
yeah,
it was an account, you can add to it?
well, what for the trust?
Yeah, once you
Well,
open it, can you add money into it throughout?
there's different types of trust, and that I haven't really learned yet. But just like
Okay.
a regular trust, like when it comes, like for instance, like the indication with my grandparents, or like with people having money and putting it into trust for kids with college, you could also put stipulations on trust because it's a legal document. So say
Mm-hmm.
if you say, like for a legal document, right? Say in the trust, it has on there that like all the kids have to get drug tested. They can't be drug addicts. They can't be alcoholics. And they have to prove that they're not these things. Or you can put it up to a certain age. They can't get the trust if, like, say if you die, and you could put on that the kid can't get it and can't get the trust until they graduate college and turn 25. For instance, did you ever watch Power?
Some of it.
Okay, so there's a part of it where the guy dies, right? And the wife thinks that she's getting everything. And he leaves everything to his son, but he just turned 18, and it says that he cannot get his trust, which is all this money that his dad put away through the drug dealing that he did, until he gets a college degree. So he has to go to school in
So
order to
he's
get it.
forced to go to
Yes.
college.
So you could do stuff like that.
So Kristen says, is this kind of like a CD account?
No, because a CD account is basically you put the money up and you gain interest for a certain amount of time. Then after that time is up, you could renew the CD or cash the money out. The trust is basically more so like you could cash out a trust, like say like, okay, you know what, I have a trust and I want to withdraw the trust. If you're the owner of the trust, you could do that, but you have to, of course, pay for you to do that. And there might be certain, I don't know if there's certain penalties for it because I never had to deal with that. Usually when people put money up in the trust, it's like, that's it. But you could, I think, so it just basically what a trust is more so of, you could do it through banks and stuff will basically be able to walk you through it. Some people
Mm-hmm.
do it within attorneys because they do the legal documents, and then they'll, the legal documents is basically indicating who gets the trust in, how much the trust is and who gets this. So you basically put the money in the bank. It'll be a trust account. The trustee also is a person that delegates and says, okay, well, this person gets it, such like that. So it's just like this whole process. And a lot of people feel, and I think that's another reason why a lot of minorities don't have it, is because they don't want to pay attorneys to do it. What if you have kids or anyone to leave to? You can use it for yourself later in life, or is it a CD better? That I am not sure. Because the trust is basically indicating where you're leaving money for a specific person. You're not gaining any interest or anything on it. So if it's just for yourself, you could basically, I would suggest like a CD or a high money market account or a savings account, or invest it into stocks and just, basically wait for dividends and things like that. Because a trust is basically something you're putting up for a specific reason, for like if you die, most of the time it's what a trust is for. Some people that are rich put it up is the inside for their kids to have for either their passing or after a certain time, like, okay, here you go. We used to joke and call it as the parents' payoff. Like, okay, you turn 18, you're rich, you get your trust, now leave us alone. We used to make fun of people that had trust. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
we
your
make
parents paid
fun
you
of them,
off.
but
Your parents paid you off.
they
At
had some
18, they want you to
generational
get
wealth.
out. Right. Like, you either go to college and make something yourself, or here's your money, don't ask us for no more.
You have anything else you want to share, Celia?
As of no, not right now. I just, like I said, I just
That was
feel
a
like,
lot. That was good
right.
information.
I just feel that like, you know, a lot of minorities don't know about credit, financial stability, things of that, and as well as like, you know, estate trust. And I feel like that's if you ever notice, a lot of minorities fight over don't even talk to people after certain family members die because they feel they're owed something. Like, I took care of this person, I should have got the house, or you're the sibling that never was around, and I took care of dad while he had cancer, and so they feel obligated to these things, and then they don't talk to their family members anymore because they feel that, or they're mad at the person that died because they didn't leave them anything. So this prevents any of that from happening. Like, if it ain't in the will and you ain't in it, they didn't like you. No plan.
And it's their money. People believe their money who they want to. Lisa says, but every time I ask my bank about CDs, they always saying they aren't good now. What does that mean?
First of all, I used to work at a bank, and we used to hate setting up CDs because there's a lot of paperwork.
So they say that to avoid the
One, two, a lot of CD rates are not good that much anymore. You could probably get it better putting it in a money market account or and even like savings accounts are not really like good anymore. Usually a lot of people just use savings accounts not to even gain interest. It's more so just to have a separate account put aside without a checking account. But nowadays it's without having a card. But nowadays it's kind of like you do have a card, you can just transfer to your checking account. So it's kind of like if you're gonna do a savings or such like that. CDs, I was never really like a fan of them because they were never really high rates. But a lot of people used to do them because of the fact that it could be put up for a while and they don't have to worry about it. I know a lot of people, older people, when I worked at the bank, would do CDs for a year so that it would be done by Christmas time. And then like the little interest that they did gain, that would be like the extra money they would use for like Christmas presents or things like that. But sometimes it wasn't even that much. Because CDs don't really have that many rates. Back in the day, used to be a lot before they had all these different type of like savings and things of that sort. And now that you could buy stocks on the palm of your hand instead of having to have a broker tell you what stocks you could buy and have to go through them. So it's CDs are not as good as they used to be in my perspective, but yeah.
Kristen said very informative. Thanks to Celia, you educating tonight. Lisa says, girl, that's what's going on with me and my sister now. The one who always got more when we were kids, fighting over what we get from my daddy's death. Oh wow. And why can't it just be in half?
Because it all depends.
Probate is not the best.
Right, we had
that out though.
We had a probate recently where so basically what happened is it was this guy and he was a police officer. So of course they have a high life insurance policy, and most of them get more. So it's through MetLife, and it was like a $700,000 life insurance policy, right? He divorced his wife with his 2 kids and then remarried and had a kid with another woman. So he ended up having a heart attack and died, right? But he took the kids off of his life insurance policy and changed it to his wife like 2 years prior to his death. So the ex-wife was fighting, saying, hey, for the majority of the life of that life insurance policy, the kids were on there, so she should get something. And she did get the kids each got something from the life insurance policy that he had through the city of Chicago, but she wanted more. And so his the most current wife, the widow, went and fought for it and was like, no, like I'm this, because they were trying to say that she shouldn't get nothing. And she was like, I had nothing to do with that. I didn't even know this life insurance policy even existed. And so, things of that sort. And so it ended up being where the widow wife actually won the case. But what she did is gave her $250,000 of it. She was like, because even though you don't let my daughter see your kids, they're still brother and sister, and I was in their life for a period of time, and I'm not gonna let them not have anything. But she like fought for like 2 years. They kept going back and forth with it.
Yeah, probate is
right.
sticky, man.
Yeah.
Jermaine said he hears that a lot too about CDs, and Lisa wants to know what's the topic next week because my roommates wanted to weigh in on that family. What topic would you want us to talk about with families? Hey, I'm open to people giving me topics, Lisa. Let us know. Yes, I do it every Friday. So what happened? Who ended up getting the money?
So the one girl that was our client was the widow wife, and
Okay.
she let the ex-wife, um she gave her 250 out of the $700,000 life insurance policy for, but she gave it to them but she had to put them in a trust for the kids so that the ex-wife couldn't use that money for herself. So that was the
Oh,
only way she would give her 250,000, and she wasn't willing to do that because she kept saying it was for the kids, it's for the kids. So she said, if it's for the kids, I'll give you the 250,000, because they were like, if Halana basically would have gave her, like, if she would agree on whatever she wanted to do with it, because the judge said technically this is her life insurance policy, regardless if
right.
she knew or didn't know. He signed the paperwork, he did it, she couldn't do it on her own, like, that's his. And so she said, "Fine, I'll give you the 250. I'll give you 250,000." When she didn't have to, she could even give her. She could have gave her 25 if she wanted to. She gave them
Right.
250,000. 125 for each kid, and for that they had to she had to put it in a trust, and they couldn't get that money until they were 25.
Because if it's really about the kids, then
She would be
there
okay
you
with it.
go. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I mean, at least she gave him something. I know some people, some women wouldn't have did that.
right. But yeah, but the thing is, because he didn't have that in a trust. I mean, inside a will,
Right.
he didn't have a will. She spent what, she owed us 60 grand in legal fees, and that's coming out of
Dang.
her. That's coming out of what she got. Like, she was paying us some money, but she got that from, she's paying 60,000 to us for the attorney fees out of the money she got out of her 500,000.
So it is important to have a will, everyone. It is very important to have a will.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then also to make sure that your life insurance policy are up to date of who you want it to go to.
Yeah, make sure you check that every year. I know some people every time they get in a rift,
I change my life insurance
they go and
policy.
change it. You know what? Nope, not this week. You don't get nothing this Lisa smiling. Lisa, what do you want to talk about next week? As far as family, let me know. And you also are welcome to join in while we talk about your topic. I got another cliffhanger question for next week if you want. Why not, Jermaine? Why not? Come on, let's hit us with it. Me too. Well, Celia, while I'm waiting on Lisa and Jermaine to give me next week's topics, thank you. Thank you. I've
You're
learned
welcome.
so much. This was a great conversation. Thank you for taking time out your day. This live is probably the longest live I've ever done. Um, but it was just so informative, and I didn't know that slideshow was that long. I guess when you're just going through it and not talking in between, it doesn't seem as long. But yeah, so thank you for taking out the time and educating us. If there is one thing that I do have a question, if there's one thing that parents can instill in their children at a young age about finances, what do you think it should be?
Um, Basically teaching them ahead of time of what money actually is. Like there's times where the boys will want like a $3 game, right?
Mm-hmm.
My husband be like, "Look, you have everything. This is a $3 game. Where's your money at? I know you have some money." And they could look at him, but now they don't care. They be like, they'll come with their quarters and pennies and be like, "I got $3 to pay for this game. Can I get this app? Can I get this app?" And he'd be like, "Okay." And I'd be like, at first I used to be like, "Why are you taking his money?" He was like, "I'm teaching them that everything pays. And I don't care if it's $3. You don't always have to have everything. That's just because, and you think because I have money." So it's teaching them at a younger age that, like, the value of money. So it's never
Right.
too
Because you
early.
constantly giving them something and they don't really understand cost.
Right. Right.
Yeah. That's
Right.
smart.
And
I like
yeah,
that.
so
I like that
yeah, teach them
tactic.
at a younger age of
Oh, come
how,
on, Lisa.
yeah.
I'll think
So
of something.
yeah, teaching them at a younger age, and then like with Nicole, you know, my husband was instilling in her and teaching her about credit I think it was like when she hit high school, and teaching her about credit and teaching her about like things like that. So when she turned 18, when she wouldn't be oblivious to just get any type of credit card.
Mm-hmm.
Like she has some credit cards, but she has, I think, two or three of them, but she uses them for different reasons, and she always pays them off. Like, she has one where she'll, instead of using her debit card, if she's going to buy something, she'll use it to get points and then turn around and pay it off that same day or whenever it hits the account, so her card, so that this way she gets the points, but she was going to spend that money anyway. But that's the thing, that's that mindset. Some people be like, oh, I'm going to use my card, I'll just pay at the end of the month, and then forget how much it's going to be at the end of the month.
That's true. Don't they have those little cards now you can give kids where you can kind of give them an allowance and put a spending limit on it, and you can cut it off? Like, you pretty much controlling their card.
But guess what? I'd rather have my kids see their money, because they can't, right. They see it and then they see it getting taken away. So I don't have no problem giving them physical cash.
Yeah, because that's another tidbit, is to carry cash on you for your allowance instead of your card, because once that cash is up, that's it for spending. Because once you're constantly
9 out of 10 times I lose mine, so I don't even get to spend it. 9 out of 10 times I lose my cash, so I don't even get to spend it.
Yeah, that's why I don't do cash. But that's another good one if you don't lose money. So Jermaine's cliffhanger is, I'll go off this week's conversation again. A couple is married for 18 years. A few hours after the daughter goes off to college, the husband hands his wife divorce papers because he wants to live his life, and she signed a prenup. The wife starts an OnlyFans. Do you judge?
I'm going to leave on that note.
This is next week's cliffhanger, so we're not going to talk about that today.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about that next week. Right, we'll talk about that next week. My mom says that helps your credit score. I believe she's talking about
yes, because it does. It does.
Yeah.
And then you accumulate points as well.
You would love to hear about how people are surviving during the pandemic. We can do that. That's been a constant thing to talk about, because we're constantly evolving. And now we have to go through the pandemic in the holidays, where we might not be able to see our families and, follow our traditions. So yeah, we could talk about the pandemic next week. Definitely can.
And Lisa, some of the stuff about the pandemic was in the beginning of the show.
So Celia keep telling you what you missed. But we can definitely talk about that. And it's 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I don't know where you're located, Lisa, but that is the time. So I think that's it, right, Celia?
Yeah, I gotta go.
Why look like you on a set? Like you
okay.
You on a movie set.
You forget who my husband is, okay?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So we're at the studio, and I was like, oh, I gotta do this thing with Renita. He come and he sets up all these lights. I'm gonna give you some awesome lights.
So I have all these background. He set you up, girl.
I have all these lights on me. And then he said, and then while I'm sitting there on the live, he's like right here in my face with the camera. I'm like, stop.
Lisa said, "Oh, that's crazy." I gotta think on that one, Jermaine. Yes, we're gonna think on that for a week. Jermaine likes to let you go. Huh?
I said,
yeah, we're about. Thanks for joining, Lisa. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Celia. I know you gotta go.
All right, talk to you later.
I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
So it looks like she went on set. Yeah, it looks like she coming from a movie. Give me your number. Yeah, her husband does photography. He does he records for podcasts. I think he does the editing for podcasts and things of that sort. So if you need any of that, reach out to me and I can hand you over to Celia, because she left before she can advertise herself. Well, you guys, this was a great live, very informative. So next week we're going to be talking about handling the pandemic during the holidays, and we're going to do that cliffhanger brought to you by Jermaine next week. I like that topic. Yeah. So we're going to have another fun. Thank you to Lisa and Jay for joining this week, and I hope to see you guys next week. To everybody, don't forget to be your own kind, and don't forget to take care of yourself. Remember to take care of yourself. A lot is going on. Don't neglect you. And until next week, I will see you. Have a great weekend. Bye.